stripping. Yes, really. I usually travel around the world with a small black suitcase, and which has everything in it that I need to get on with life. And last time I did one of the big finish things in London, last time I was over here, I had a little black suitcase with me. And I finished about 6 o'clock, and I had to go on a training place at about 7:30. God, I didn't bring a beer. Right, so I ran into this pub with my little black suitcase. Bloke said, "You're a stripper, you're late." And what did he say? He said, no, well, how much are you offering? But anyway. It's the nicest thing anybody has said to me for 10 years. Brilliant. Anyway, now we have Mr. Next, your next Alpha Dominic is Mr. Graeme Goring. Yes.
Hello. I'm afraid likewise I don't have many jokes about Doctor Who, but I do have lots of stories about snakes and crocodiles, and they went down really well earlier, so... Anyway, yes, my name's Graeme, and when I started doing stand-up comedy, I asked a friend of mine for advice on speaking to groups of people, because I do get nervous. He said, don't worry, I have the exact same problem all the time. All you need to do is imagine that the group of people you're speaking to are completely naked, and you'll be fine. Trust me, I'll use it at work. Which I thought was great advice, although... It's slightly worrying that he's a teacher at a primary school. It's alright, it's fictional, not like Doctor Who. Another friend, Alan, he's a claustrophobic mime artist. So whenever he does that glass boxes, he has a panic attack. All sorts of fun humour. Anyway, actually, I was looking into phobias, and there's one particular phobia that I would genuinely hate to have, and that is the fear of long words. Because I shit you not, the medical term for the fear of long words is hippopotomonstrosesquipedaliophobia. Oh! What shit is that? I mean, a bit like if they changed arachnophobia to Jesus Christ, you're gonna fucking spy on you! Ophobia. Another thing I discovered is that there are actually 5 different phobias for cats. And I don't mean that cats are scared of 5 different things, although if you think about it, you know, dogs, loud noises, some bricks in a sack in a canal. Again, fictional cats. Actually, there are 5 different phobia words for cats. There's allurophobia, there's ailurophobia, there's felinophobia, there's galliophobia, and there's gattophobia. To be fair, only one of those is a domestic house cat. Obviously, the rest of them are hit Western musical. Which can't actually make sense if you've seen it, because in it they're 6 foot tall and they have opposable thumbs. And if cats could use tin openers and guns, well, you fucked! Some phobias, though, they're just irrational. For instance, there's one called allodoxophobia, which is the fear of a pin. Now, I know you're thinking, that doesn't sound like a real phobia at all. And I agree with you, but if you try expressing that to the sufferers, they go crazy.
Yeah, definitely.
Or porphyrophobia, which is the fear of the colour purple. Now, I don't like Whoopi Goldberg either. The film comes on, I change the channel. The last phobia I mentioned, though, is one that my nan has. It's a very common phobia. It's called acmophobia. It's the fear of needles. Now, because my nan has that, it means 2 things. 1, I don't have any hand-knitted jumpers. And 2, she refuses to go for those winter flu jabs. And they're really important, because she could get the flu and she could die. I mean, but don't worry, though, because I didn't want a jumper anyway. Okay, now, to be honest, I do actually genuinely love my nan, because she's kind of amazing. She's 103, she's incredibly short, incredibly deaf, a fantastic cook, and has crippling angina. If they ever do a Nana-themed version of Top Trump, she'd be the best card in there. So yeah, 103 and still kicking, which is why we put her in a home. She turned violent. I don't know if you've ever been to a birthday party or a retirement home, but they're not good. Because you know all people, when they unwrap presents, they do it really, really carefully, because they don't want to tear the paper, because they might have a use for it later on, even though they'll be dead. Imagine what that does to a game of Pass the Parcel. Oh my God, it went on so long it had a mortality rate. And also they play musical chairs, which was a bad idea, because you know, whenever you see musical chairs and you've been framed, there's always that bit where 2 people go to the same chair, and it splinters into loads of bits, and it's brilliant. It was like that, except the chairs were fine, it was their hip joints. It sounded like someone stepping on a bag of Twiglets, and it didn't help that one of the old ladies had like a titanium replacement and kept on body checking the other one. She didn't win though. In the end, the winner was an old lady in a wheelchair. Tactical play, I salute you. Also, I heard a group of women playing that fame game. You know the one where you put a post-it note on your forehead with a famous name on it, then you ask each other questions to find out who you are? except when I checked, they weren't on post-it notes, they just didn't know who they were. It was tragic. One of them said to me, "Are you my grandson? Is this your party?" These 20 quid I've ever made. No, okay, no, I did actually get my comeuppance though, because I was the only person there under the age of 70, so I really didn't enjoy spinning the bottle. Well, I blanked most of the memory. All I remember is bottle pointing at me, then blackness, then finding half the word was originally in my mouth. I can't believe my uncle did that. But I am unlucky though, particularly in love. I have trouble staying in relationships with women for any length of time. I mean, I can manage it. There was one that lasted about 3 months, but apparently in the end I was too needy and immature. Finally, in 1976, she gave me up for adoption. I think the reason my mother never loved me was because of the trauma of my birth. Because apparently during it, the doctor's like, "Oh my God, the placenta's coming out first," and usually that's really dangerous. But then they noticed the placenta had eyes, and they realised it was just a very ugly baby. Which was a problem when she gave me up for adoption, because she had to throw in a VCR before she could be taken. So. And even, you know, another reason I'm not very good with women, I'm not very good at chatting up with women. I used to have some success with the line, "You look like $1 million." But I think since the global economic downturn, I've lost a lot of its cachet. People are unwilling to invest in foreign currencies, so I tried telling a woman she looked like £1 million, but she was kind of big and took it the wrong way, so that didn't work out either. Even when I get into a relationship, I'll fuck it up in no time. Like my last girlfriend, she was perfect. She had hair down to here. I mean, she was bald with a huge bush. And I ruined it when I made a joke about the size of one of her lady, and she got into a massive flap. My favourite one, I don't care. At this point, though, I'd actually kind of like your help, because it's coming up to my nephew's birthday party, and I always get him a board game every year. And last year I was like Star Wars Monopoly. I am sorry to mention Star Wars, but they do generally have a Doctor Who Monopoly. I mentioned that in my app, but they don't have one. I want them to do one. But this year I wanted to get him something similar, like a board game, and I wanted to run the ideas past you, see what you thought. First one I was thinking of Credit Crunch Monopoly. Which is like normal Monopoly, except they replaced the fake money with real money, because it's worthless now. Smackhead Kaplunk. Basically, instead of pulling the needles out, you push them in. That's how that was. It's very similar to acupuncture, if you've ever played that. But that's what they do. They take a board game, they reverse the rules, they come up with a new board game. For instance, there's Certainty. That's Risk with nuclear weapons. It's a lot of fun. Important Pursuit, which is like Trivial Pursuit, except the questions are like, how do we solve the crisis in Darfur? And of course, the best reverse rules board game is Puking Hippos. The first one is I0 wins. Another game I considered was Snap, which is Twister for people with osteoporosis. Gender reassignment operation. Like normal operation, you just move the cot from one board to the other. As it's for a child, I wanted to get NHS operation, but there was a 2-year waiting list. I do that. Also, the Game of Life is a really good board game, but if you do buy that, make sure you don't buy the American fundamentalist Christian version in that, because obviously over there, you know, life starts conception. And if you do try quitting in the first 9 moves, someone spray paints murderer on your car. Speaking of America, there's 9/11 Jenga. Basically the same, but you get 2 of them. Those are remote control planes. But it's part of their satirical range of board games they do, which started, let's see, one of the ones they did, Metropolitan Police Guess Who? Oh, that's brilliant. It's a lot easier though, because they really don't care who you pick, as long as they get an arrest. Basically like Metropolitan Police Cluedo, which doesn't come with a little evidence card, you have to fabricate those yourself. Yeah, but they started doing these satirical board games in 2004 with Whack-A-Mole, which is a box containing some painkillers, directions to Dr. David Kelly's house, and a note saying, make it look like suicide. But you know, some board games have had to change due to health and safety rules as well. I mean, due to health and safety, the new version of Snakes and Ladders contains neither snakes nor ladders. It's just called And. Equally, due to health and safety, you can't buy pop-up pirates after some children stabbed a fisherman to death in a copycat incident. And that sort of thing happens all the time, actually. The sinking of the Belgrano was just a game of battleships that got way out of hand. But political correctness has, you know, resulted in some games changing as well. You know, because due to political correctness, we've all now accepted that dyslexia is a genuine condition that affects a lot of people. And so the new version of Scrabble has absolutely no rules. Play what you like. Have a fucking A-level while you're at it. But I think the board game I'm going to get into, it's a lot of fun. It's where the whole family gathers round and masturbates onto the face of a mule that could go off any minute. That's Bukakaroo. The last thing I'll say though is that actually it was my birthday recently. My sister got me a replacement pair of gloves. I mean, don't you hate that thing where you put two fingers in one of the holes and it tears? I mean, in retrospect, I should have just given her a thank you card, but we've also been really close. Thank you, you've been lovely.